Welcome to Iraqi Dinar Hub. We are retaking a close look at a major event that many say took place in 2025, a national address delivered by Prime Minister Mohammed Shia Al-Sudani that quickly turned into the center of heavy discussion. Instead of the usual government updates about projects or basic reforms, this speech reportedly took a sharp turn. Sudani focused directly on Iraq's financial identity, using the live broadcast to speak openly about the country's currency, the strength of its economy, and how the government views its real value. Many observers picked up on how unusual this shift was. He pushed the nation's financial system into the spotlight, making it the heart of the message rather than a side topic. According to the transcript, this wasn't a broad or general talk about the economy. It was much more targeted. The Prime Minister aimed his message straight at the idea of financial independence and the belief that Iraq's currency should reflect the country's true economic position and natural wealth. The address was described as a direct and intentional effort to position the dinar as a symbol of national power. This focus didn't fade at any point during the speech. Instead, it stayed consistent from start to finish, making it clear that this wasn't accidental. It was a deliberate push to elevate the dinar into a top-tier policy priority, moving the topic from theory to something concrete. A particular line from the address is what grabbed most of the attention. Sudani was quoted saying, "It is time for the Iraqi dinar to represent the real value of our nation's strength and economy." This one sentence stood out as unusually straightforward. Analysts noted that the wording had none of the typical, vague or coded language politicians often use when talking about financial issues. Instead, it came across as confident and intentional, signaling something bigger. For many people who have been following Iraq's long economic reform process, the impact of this single statement felt significant. It wasn't taken as just political talk. It was seen as something that could mark a turning point in how Iraq handles its currency going forward. After that main line, the rest of the address reportedly expanded into real policy details. Sudani laid out 5 major points, each representing a key achievement tied to Iraq's economic progress. These weren't described as symbolic wins. They were presented as solid, verifiable steps the government had already taken. The speech framed these accomplishments as the foundation needed before any serious shift in financial policy could happen. Together, they were meant to show that Iraq's economic base is finally strong enough to support a major change in the nation's financial direction. The first major point highlighted in the address was that Iraq had completed crucial financial reforms. Sudani reportedly announced that the country had finally met all major requirements set by global financial institutions like the IMF and the World Bank. For years, these organizations pushed Iraq to modernize its banking system, increase digital oversight, and tighten anti-corruption systems. The Prime Minister's confirmation that these milestones were reached was framed as a big achievement, showing that Iraq's financial structure is no longer holding the country back, but is now aligned with international expectations. Building on that, Sudani pointed specifically to the full digital transition of Iraq's banking sector. He was quoted saying, "We have finalized the digital transition of our banking system and now meet international standards." This was presented as proof that Iraq's financial system can now connect seamlessly with the rest of the world. Such digital infrastructure has long been considered a requirement before Iraq could move forward with larger monetary reforms. Many analysts have viewed this step as one of the main bottlenecks delaying future financial changes, so officially completing it was seen as a major milestone. The second point in the speech was considered just as impactful, if not more. Sudani reportedly confirmed that Iraq is actively cutting down its reliance on the US dollar for trade. This shift, often called de-dollarization, has been discussed for months, but this was the first time it was confirmed publicly by the government at such a high level. For decades, Iraq's international trade heavily depended on the dollar. So hearing that the country was now conducting trades in dinar with major partners like Turkey, Iran, and China signaled a major change. This move is meant to build real international demand for the dinar, instead of depending on administrative policies alone. Analysts explained the idea behind this approach. Each trade conducted in dinar helps strengthen the currency naturally. Instead of manipulating numbers, Iraq is trying to build real-world usage of the dinar. This method is considered a foundational step countries often take before adjusting their currency value. For many who follow monetary policy, This signaled that Iraq was laying the groundwork from the bottom up, building practical demand for its currency through actual trade rather than theory. The third key point revolved around Iraq's foreign reserves. Sudani reportedly announced that Iraq now holds record-high reserves, which he framed as crucial for any possible future currency adjustment. Large reserves show that the country has the financial strength needed to support a stronger exchange rate. These reserves serve as a safety net, proving that the central bank can defend the currency even during global market fluctuations. He reportedly noted that estimates place Iraq's reserves above $120 billion, the highest in the country's recent history, giving Iraq more financial leverage and stability than it's had in decades. These reserves were presented as the financial backbone supporting the idea of strengthening the dinar. Without them, any talk about adjusting the currency wouldn't carry much weight. Combined with steady oil revenue and more disciplined government spending, these reserves create a solid, stable base for Iraq's next economic move. Many observers saw this point as confirmation that Iraq has quietly been preparing for something much larger. Next came the fourth announcement, which financial experts found especially telling. Sudani reportedly revealed that the Central Bank of Iraq had finalized a new exchange mechanism, a technical framework. It's meant to restore fairness and balance to the currency. This specific terminology raised eyebrows. Terms like exchange mechanism usually only appear in situations where a country is preparing to modify how its currency is valued. Historically, other nations used similar language right before reevaluations or major monetary shifts. Because of that, this part of the speech stood out as a strong indicator that structural financial changes might be approaching. The fifth and final point was the one that reportedly created the biggest reaction among observers. Sudani gave a timeline. He said, "The next phase will begin before the new fiscal year." This line immediately gave everyone a clear window to look at. Since Iraq's new fiscal year starts in January 2026, the Prime Minister was clearly referring to the remaining months of 2025. This was described as the most direct timing reference ever given from someone at that level. Suddenly, the conversation shifted from guessing if something might happen to wondering when exactly it will happen. According to reports, what happened immediately after the speech added even more weight. Within minutes of the broadcast ending, major Iraqi financial news outlets posted updates saying the central bank had called an emergency meeting. Because the timing was so close to the Prime Minister's address, many believed this wasn't a coincidence. On top of that, the reported focus of the meeting was the implementation of the new exchange mechanism Sudani had mentioned. This pointed to a rare level of coordination between the government and the central bank, something that usually happens only when a major financial shift is looming. Technical systems reportedly showed unusual behavior as well. International currency monitoring platforms that track exchange rates displayed temporary, but pending update notices next to the dinar's ticker symbol. While this alone doesn't confirm anything, it suggests that back-end systems may have been undergoing preparations or testing. These kinds of technical ripples often appear shortly before currency changes. When combined with the political speech and the central bank's sudden activity, the timing looked far too connected to ignore. Altogether, this combination of political announcements, central bank movement, and global technical signals created a picture of a country gearing up for a major financial shift. Analysts described it as one of the strongest groups of indicators seen so far, suggesting Iraq might be transitioning from preparing policies to actually putting them into action. According to the analysis, the tone of the conversation has shifted dramatically from debating whether Iraq would ever make a major change to discussing when that change might happen. For years, talk about the Iraqi dinar has mostly lived in rumor circles, with theories that came and went. But this time feels different because the information is coming from the top. The Prime Minister himself went live on national television to say, in essence, that Iraq is ready. He said the dinar should reflect the country's economic strength. That kind of message, delivered publicly, carries weight. When you look at how far Iraq has come, the moment feels even bigger. A decade ago, the idea of major currency reform seemed unlikely. The country was dealing with instability, outdated systems, and heavy dependence on outside guidance. But over the years, Iraq has gone through a steady, quiet economic transformation. Its digital banking system is now considered modern. Its financial policies now meet international standards, and its reserves have climbed to historic levels. All the pieces that economists said were necessary before a currency shift can even be considered. Iraq now has them. The report also pointed out the geopolitical timing. Al-Sudani has worked to position Iraq as a bridge between both Western and Eastern powers. The government has kept strong relations with the U.S. while building deeper economic ties with China, Turkey, and Iran. This balanced strategy gives Iraq more room to maneuver without being overly dependent on any one country. When you combine that with improved internal stability and completed financial reforms, the timing for a major economic move looks strategic and well-planned. Finally, the emotional side of the speech stood out as well. Al-Sudani reportedly spoke directly to the Iraqi people with lines like, "Our people have waited long enough. Iraq's dignity begins with a strong national currency." Statements like this resonated deeply. For Iraqis, the dinar isn't just money, it's tied to national pride, identity, and hope for a stronger future. The way Al-Sudani framed his message made it feel personal, not just technical. Many saw it as a signal that Iraq is ready for its next step, and that empowering the dinar is part of reclaiming national strength. All of this, the reforms, the political timing, the emotional message, is why the speech was considered a landmark moment. According to the detailed reports, it represents a major shift, not just in policy, but in mindset. And for many, watching closely, it may be the clearest sign yet that Iraq is entering a new financial chapter.